So a couple of other things to note that are going to be very important with this is that when we do this little pelvic tilt, okay, what should happen, instead of doing that clench in our belly and clench with our buttocks, what should happen is that we have a feeling of lengthening down through the sacral area. Okay, so it's like the soft tissue here in the lower back and the sacrum. Imagine that's going to lengthen down to the ground. So it's like your sacrum just in here. Imagine that's going to lengthen down. And then there's a very, very gentle feeling of drawing up that's going to happen just in front of the pubic bone. Okay, so it's like there's this lengthening going down and a little very gentle, very subtle drawing up feeling here. And one of the ways that we're going to know that we're doing this well, and because this is also correct core engagement, okay, one of the ways that we're going to know this doing well is because we can still do our centered expansive breathing, okay, which is how I explain breathing, but what it basically just means that we're using our diaphragm correctly when we breathe, okay. A lot of times people are engaging their core by pulling their belly button to their spine, okay, and if we do that, we're starting to get into a tight holding pattern in our belly and in our buttocks, and you also notice that you actually can't breathe in that expansive way through your center, okay. And the effect I noticed on horses, which is what made me start questioning that way of thinking, was that my horses just didn't want to walk out with very good impulsion when I did that holding pattern in my belly and in my buttocks, and with that idea of pulling my belly button to my spine. But when we think about lengthening down through the back of the sacrum, down through the tailbone, and that very gentle drawing up feeling that's happening just in front of the pubic bone, we're getting some more core engagement, but without locking up and getting into tight holding patterns. All right. So what's important also to note with that is that as we're doing this very gentle pelvic tilt, okay, which I often refer to people as ping pong ball because it just seems to stick in people's minds once they've learnt this concept of, you know, let's just shift that ping pong ball. So as we're doing that very gentle pelvic tilt, taking the pelvis into a little bit more flexion, we're got to elongate and keep lengthening the spine up out of the top of the pelvis. Okay, so what we don't want to do is do our little pelvic tilt, but like get rounded here. Okay, that's going to block the horse. It's going to make it very hard for the horse's back to be able to lift, and the horse's back to being able to lift is like the precursor for the hind legs to be able to come through correctly and for the pelvis to be able to actually do that little bit of flexion. Okay, so we have to just keep our vertical alignment, not like get rounded and slouched back here, and we've got to keep that lifting feeling where it's like we're opening up the space in between each vertebrae of the spine as we do this little pelvic flexion. Okay,